We have become a very, visual and auditory society, much more focused on the visual, on the graphic, on what we see and what we hear, sound and images in our video games, in our videos, in our movies, in our TV shows. We are consumed with what we are watching and hearing, and many of us just don't read anymore, and that's a huge mistake. Okay, reading actually increases your IQ. Reading actually will help you to, you know, put off the possibility of developing dementia at an older age. The more you use your mind, the more vital your mind will be and will serve you well. But reading is critical. To a large degree, if you don't read, you don't know very much. Now, so it's not good enough, in my opinion, that you rely on your news and your information about the world from listening to talk show hosts, or watching the pundits on TV, or watching the news on TV. You're not going to get the truth. You'll get some of the truth, but a lot of times you're going to get complete falsehoods, or other times you're going to get the truth that's twisted and mangled in order to serve the agenda of one side or the other. You're not going to get all the facts. Oftentimes, in order to get the truth, in order to get the facts of a situation, you have to look. You got to look in a lot of different places, under a lot of stones, so to speak. You have to check out different resources, different sources of information, and use your mind to judge and evaluate and consider the pros and cons of what you're reading, where it's coming from, what their agenda might be, what the truth might be. Because if you don't read it all, and just relying on someone else's opinion, that's bad. You're hurting yourself. You're hurting the world. You're hurting the universe. But if you do decide to read, you have to read all sides. You have to read other points of view. There's a lot of propaganda out there. There's a lot of misinformation, disinformation, lies, and confusion to distract you and confuse you so that you don't really know what's going on, who's doing what, and who is really serving you versus serving themselves while it's looking like they're serving you. When I look at, the reason why Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump have started their own little revolutions is because the government has failed us, the media has failed us, the establishment has failed us. Uh, you, you know, uh, there's like chemicals in the plastic products, in the plastic bottles and containers that our food is in. Chemicals, deadly chemicals and toxins leaching into the foods that you eat. The foods that you eat have all sorts of preservatives and contaminants and all sorts of crap in it, so that they can make more money at your expense. The Environmental Protection Agency has failed us. The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, has failed us. Uh, what we are eating, drinking, smoking, so much of what we are getting into our system, into our minds and bodies, is killing us slowly. Yeah, that's what that's what our government is doing. That's what the establishment is doing, killing us softly with their song. Yeah, and their song is greed. Their song is, what's in it for them at the expense of us. So again, I say to you that the reason why these people, the Sanders and Trump, is because, the the government, your Republican or Democratic Party, they tell you how they're going to help you, but they don't. They tell you what is best for you, but it isn't. They tell you what you should ignore, but what you're ignoring is hurting you, or they tell you. Or they don't tell you what you should pay attention to. It's all upside down. It's all bad, and it's all comes down to us being thoughtless and being sheep, and being influenced and putting our trust in the wrong places, which comes back to the point I was saying at the beginning of this. You have to read, you have to think, you have to use common sense, what makes sense, not what your biases want you to believe, but what is really true. Alrighty.